Hi guys. Chapter 5 of Stuck in Neutral. Lindy felt the early tugs, her womb becoming tidal and loud, the fetus turning, crying out, a tiny beast, a braying sigh. He calls to her, he calls to her. I dream hard the dream of knowing him, this baby boy coming to us. A single bird, small, leaps inside my chest, turning the pure spirit to pure joy as we watch, crying. Sean. He becomes Sean now. And that bird inside me, wings free too. Wings, wings, it's way inside me. I love the beginning of Dad's poem. What's not to love? Who wouldn't enjoy being a witness at his own birth? I love the sound of his words, and I love most of all how happy and excited my dad was. How grateful and full of hope at the moment when I arrived. Of course, that's just the start of the poem. Everything soon changed. Basically, the poem tells about how Dad was never able to deal with my condition, with the pain he thinks I experienced during my seizures. That's probably one of the reasons he thinks it's all right, even necessary, to harm me. Another is that he thinks I can't hear. You've all said it, you know you have. So-and-so, he's just dumb. The first couple of times I heard people say that, I couldn't figure out what they were talking about. It sounded like some horror movie, and I wondered exactly what kind of person they thought I was. If it was a redheaded guy, did he turn into a carrot, like a vegetable? If it was a cranky old lady, did she become a turnip? And what kind of people became avocados or zucchinis or summer squashes? You know, sometimes people use that phrase, he's just a vegetable, which means that they can't think and they can't speak and things like that. And that's what he's referring to. Not a very nice thing to say. In my father's eyes, I am a vegetable, a human vegetable. I'll never be able to enjoy life and be productive. I'll never be able to win a Pulitzer Prize, go on talk shows, meet the Pope, or have lunch at the White House. I'll never be in People magazine with a 3-page story about my life. I'll never attend the Academy Awards or have dinner with Clint Eastwood. You guys know who Clint Eastwood is, right? Look him up. He's a movie star. Okay, he's old, but look him up anyway. Or be hired to write and narrate a documentary on the tragic plight of orphan children in Romania. I'll never be able to do any of the stuff that Sidney E. McDaniel has gotten to do. So what's the point of my being here if I can't be like him? This makes it sound like the only reasons my dad would hurt me for selfish ones. Honestly, I don't believe that. Dad really wants to do me in to save me from suffering. He's afraid I'm trapped and in pain, and he wants to end it all because he loves me. He enjoys the success he's had, but it hasn't helped him forget that he's my dad and therefore responsible for me. Sean, the story poem, has done just the opposite of helping him get over me. Think about it. Dad's fame has made him a professional victim of our relationship. His pain over me is the foundation of his career. If you could hear my dad read this poem out loud like I have, you'd understand. I attended the premiere reading 2 years ago at the Kendall Mansion. The building used to be a kind of a power station back in the old days when Seattle had electric trolley cars. You may not know what those are either, but they still have them in San Francisco. So you could maybe Google that too. The Kendalls brought the place from the city years ago, pumped a couple of $100,000 into it, and voila! They had a mansion with a 60-foot ceiling and 14,000 square feet of space. And I overheard Mom telling Cindy and Paul that Mary Kendall had long been a supporter of the Seattle art scene, and that as a friend of Dad's publisher, she offered her home for Dad's reading. I'm sure my mom didn't want to go, but I guess she felt she had to. Dad had already read the poem to her in our kitchen earlier in the week. I had been in my bedroom 2 rooms away, and I was able to hear only parts of it, and then the sounds of them crying afterward. Maybe Mom thought she owed it to Dad to be there at the first public reading. She dressed up that night in a classy, pretty black dress and pearls. She looked beautiful. Unfortunately, she dressed me in dark slacks running shoes. I can't even walk. Why'd she put running shoes on me? I don't know. And a white shirt, a blue blazer, and god-awful, ridiculous red bow tie. Jeez, I look like Bing Bong, the idiot puppet boy. When the reading started, I got parked in the kitchen in my wheelchair, out of eyeshot of an audience of 200 of Seattle's artsy-fartsy folks. When Dad finished reading, an explosion of applause filled the room, and all through the poem I'd heard people crying and blowing their noses, but the volume of the applause at the end felt amazingly loud. I jerked in my chair, brainstem reflex, so sharply that the young waiter who'd been serving hors d'oeuvres and wine before the reading, he flinched in his chair next to mine. He glanced at me and my eyes were focused on his face. He was handsome and kind-looking with dark skin and black eyes. I could tell he knew that I was the kid in the poem, and he felt sorry for me. I remember wishing at that time that I could be him, anonymous and quiet, in charge of my own life. But no sooner had the applause begun to quiet down than here came my mom, her eyes and nose all red. She walked to the back of the wheelchair and rolled me into the living room. Everyone applauded again. And then all these strangers began to come up to me and pat me on my shoulder and my head and my back. They all were smiling at me. Bing Bong in his drool-encrusted red bow tie. The whole scene felt terrible. Being celebrated for something you're not, being completely misunderstood by people who think they're being understood is awful. The people who approached me that evening may have meant well, but they were annoying. The only part of it I liked was the one lady wearing a pretty red dress. She leaned over and she touched my face and her voice was cooing. I wanted her to stay right there. But soon she stood up and went on her way, and most of the rest of the strangers surrounded me and talked about me as though I wasn't there. And for them, I actually wasn't. The me they talked about, the Sean in the poem, is not the real me. Not even the me my family knows. The kid in the poem is just some cute little red-headed named Sean from my dad's imagination. And the Sean in the poem, my father's version of me, is a paper-thin, imaginary Sean. A 2-dimensional version of Dad's worst fears. It was one thing not to be known for who I actually am, but to be known for who I've never been by a room full of strangers was the worst. For all my irritation at the world premiere, I liked and still like my dad's poem. I think it's an honest report of what happened to us. I hate to admit it, but I actually like my dad's description of me as a little boy. I sound pretty cute in a gimped up about CP way. I also like seeing my mom and dad together again, even though it's just words in the air from a time long ago. I like a lot of other things about the poem too. And if I'm being honest, though I don't like people staring at me, I do like everyone saying my name. I guess I have to admit it, I kind of enjoy being famous. When the Pulitzer came, I got a kick out of seeing my picture from the book's cover on TV all the time. My dad appeared on 23 talk shows, news reports, and other programs in 18 months following the announcement of the award. It's pretty weird being in the country's most famous dumb person with my memory. I bet I'm actually one of the smartest kids anywhere. My dad, after writing Sean, that's the name of the poem he wrote, he became pretty famous. But the fact is that the poem just made him a professional. What? Victim? Whiner? Abandoning deadbeat dad? Dad left our family because he couldn't stand watching my seizures. Shows what he knows. Did I mention that I love my seizures? That they're doorways to a place at least as real and far better than reality? Did I mention that I love my seizures? So much for the Pulitzer Prize. Just because you win it doesn't mean you know everything. Okay, that's chapter 5. I want you to jot down a few things about chapter 5. Something you like, something you didn't like. That'll be your assignment for tomorrow. Well, you'll probably be watching this tomorrow. So that's your assignment for today for chapter 5. Jot down something that you liked about the chapter and something that you didn't like. Okay? All right. See you guys tomorrow. Stay safe. Bye.